central banks that control the circulation of money in economies. And it was not all good, yeah? There was this idea that central banks are operating on behalf of the government, but it's not like everything that they were doing was right. And this was a very a kind of unique position that they occupied in an economy, meaning that if they messed up a little bit, then things would unravel. And I think we actually have instances in history where we saw that. So for instance, during the 2008 financial crisis. So because of this distrust that came about between people and the central banks, then cryptocurrencies really emerged. So I don't think it's exactly surprising, but I think on a positive note, really, the existence of this particular contestation between cryptocurrencies and central banks is a good one because, one, it sort of helps central bank like double check on themselves, right? Central banks now know that there is a real threat that exists to them if at all like if they continue their ways that are sort of unchecked and all that. So I think that the existence of this friction can also be a good thing. But also, it's not clearly cut that there is cryptocurrencies this side and then there's central banks this side. I think that we can always have some sort of balance where we can have central banks exist as well as cryptocurrencies. So for instance, in China, there is a central bank-based cryptocurrency, yeah? And there are many other ways in which central banks can come through. So it doesn't always have to be a struggle.
Looking back at how cryptocurrencies work, many people think these cryptocurrencies are bought in speculation of price increases and then they sell. Is this all cryptocurrencies can do, or they can actually do more?
No, they can actually do more. I think they can literally do everything that money really does, yeah? You can transact conveniently with them, buy an item, and sell buy an item, whichever use, store value, the things that money usually does, store value, and then savings, things like that, and then count on them later. They're literally a form of money in all aspects. It's just that it's a new kind of money that is coming up with different features, but it's not really just about speculation and selling. It's actually real money. And I think coming with a lot of possibilities that at times the fiat money that we're used to is not able to do. So it's money. We should look at it as money. Yeah.
We're going to talk about the law later, but I wanted to bring in the aspect of the central bank digital currency. Central banks are saying that instead of us having these cryptos, which are very high risk and regulated, we would rather push for a central bank digital currency. Do you think when the central bank digital currency comes on board, will bring something different, or it will be just crypto in another form that is regulated?
Are you saying will it be crypto in another form, or are you saying will we be seeing central banks extend their usual control?
Exactly, that's what we're saying. Is there going to be any difference between the central bank currencies that we have as cash, or actually it's just another way of putting the currency?
It really depends. It really depends. I would want for think that there's a likelihood that you're just going to have the same scenario that we're trying to avoid with the emergency of cryptos. But I think looking at different contexts of economies, then the debate could be different because alluding again to the example of China that I talked about, when you look at the Chinese economy, it's more controlled by the government, even without exactly using cryptos. So perhaps in such economies, it can operate naturally that a central bank-based cryptocurrency will work there. But I think for other economies, it's hard to see if it's not really a replica of what central banks have always had, exactly taking them on. But that's like my personal opinion. I think because these technologies are just emerging, we can always have the debate on what particular kind of form it can take. So for instance, we can try out something, have the banks, have the central bank take on cryptocurrencies, have say like 5 years of seeing how that plays out, and then assess and see how that works, and then we could see on whether to change or actually go with that. But I also think if at all the central banks are to take on that particular initiative, I think it's very crucial that they do not exactly repeat the same thing that they have been doing. So for instance, in this particular kind of new dispensation, we can look at having the guys that are already operating cryptos taken on by the central banks. So these guys already know very well, better than the guys that operate now in central banks, how these things operate. So how can the central bank maybe give these guys opportunity to work hand in hand with them, so they can, for instance, just use the brand of the central bank, say like these guys are working under I beg your pardon, Bank of Uganda, but in so doing, they're actually these very guys that already know crypto. So for instance, we can have a Bank of Uganda department within the Bank of Uganda that operates cryptos, something like that. But I think I'm really open to this debate on how exactly things will play out.
When we move to Kenya, over 4 million people are estimated to have made losses due to just over the weekend, due to the losses they've made in crypto. And the employed Kenyans are about 3 million. Yes, formally employed in the formal sector. Meaning very many people have been investing in crypto in Kenya outside formal employment. Yes, people who are unemployed, the youth, university students, and all these other people that are exposed to all these risks. And right now, the Kenyan shilling is struggling against the dollar, and that has been used as a way to bypass. People are buying crypto so that they can actually access goods, access imports without using their currency, because it's weakening against the dollar. Do you think that cryptocurrency is coming in as a competition for these other currencies, and due to the fear that these other currencies could crash, many governments are fighting it?
Yeah, I think there's that particular debate of governments fighting it. Though of course, in my personal opinion, and perhaps as we'll be discussing later in the show, perhaps that's not exactly the best way of going about that particular venture, because it seems to me that cryptos have evolved as a natural thing. I don't think it's a matter of accident, that they have come on board, because when you look at the history of money, there are a lot of very many initiatives that came up before the whole Bitcoin kind of standard came through. Things like hash cash and all that. And these things did not get to have the platform like cryptos are having right now. Perhaps there are many factors. For instance, it could be that we are now in a more tech kind of situation where there's a lot of transactions going. There are a lot of things going online, and therefore making sense as to why transactions should also get online. So it seems to me that a government that tries to fight cryptos will sort of lose it. But I would understand why, as you're saying, the government, say, if in Kenya looking at that situation, would be a bit skeptical. I don't know. I feel like that answers your question, though there's something that you raised that I also wanted to comment on, the idea of the risks that people are facing. Could I comment on that?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you. So on that particular idea, I think like while we are championing, pro cryptos, and I encourage people to try them out and all that, I also think there's a lot of room for scams. This is explained by a lot of reasons, but even away from cryptos, I think we are seeing people try to do a lot of scamming these days. So for instance, you find initiatives like Airtel Money now putting out adverts saying, please be aware, if you're going to call you, we're going to use these particular numbers. So I think that cryptos facing a challenge that is quite general, but because of course people do not exactly know about cryptos so much, then it becomes sort of more felt in this particular sector. So what I would encourage people then to do is, first of all, be aware that there's that problem out there, but also really encourage them to research. So before you go out to venture, make your research, there are people that have been in the industry. Try to reach out to them, understand what are the challenges, which is the right person to work with, and all that. Otherwise, I don't think that just looking at the risks and then dismissing cryptos as a result would help. Yeah.
Now, I want to buy, for example, a car in Dubai, and I have cryptocurrencies. What exactly do I need to do in order to use my crypto to buy? And what convenience does crypto bring that would not come with the usual currency? Because here we must look at the opportunity cost. What is the benefit of cryptocurrency, if at all I use it in transactions rather than using the physical currency?
Okay. So first of all, cryptos would really make it efficient to sort of transact because what you will need is subscribe to a particular cryptocurrency, and then the person to whom you're sending the money subscribes to the same cryptocurrency. So it's really just a matter of you getting on your phone, your gadget, and just transacting the money. The benefits are quite many. One of them is that verification. So for any transaction that you make, for instance, under Bitcoin, we can be able to look at the money that you've sent and be able to verify it, because every transaction that is made, it sort of gets encrypted on that very money. So someone can actually be able to look at that money, track all the like the whole process through which it came about and the hands through which it passed and all that. So I think there's that sort of verification to be sure that you're dealing with the right guy. But also the other advantage can be reduction in costs. So as I said earlier, cryptos allow you to transact even in the very smallest units, so it can be cost efficient. But also beyond that, the other idea on cost efficiency is because under cryptocurrencies you're dealing with an intermediary. So for instance, if you're going to compare cryptocurrencies to e-commerce, the intermediaries, like for instance PayPal, that you're going to have a Visa card and use, a credit card, use PayPal, then PayPal will verify you and all those things. Then the other person on the other side will also use PayPal. Now, because of these particular platforms, there's a cost because these guys are also doing business. Yet, like in cryptocurrencies, you're actually dealing with the person immediately.
So there's no intermediate.
No intermediary.
And so do these transactions occur at zero cost?
Not at zero cost, but it will be very cheap. So yes, last week we had a symposium where we talked about some of these ideas, and one of the experts there talked about the idea of Wave. So when you look at Wave in our local markets, vis-a-vis Airtel Money or MTN Mobile Money, you see that those guys transact at a very cheap cost because they have this kind of integration of cryptocurrency. So there is a cost, but it's relatively really cheaper compared to other forms of transacting.
Finally, Joshua, before I let you go from this segment, there are very many types of cryptocurrencies. And there's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all these other things. Some of them you can't even tell. And some collapse, like Luna recently collapsed completely. Is there a way of transitioning from the way I can exchange dollars for Uganda shillings or Kenyan shillings for Uganda shillings? Is there a means of transactions amongst the cryptocurrencies that we see in these other normal currencies?
Means of transactions between the cryptos themselves?
Yes, between the cryptos themselves. Can you use crypto to buy crypto in a way?
Cryptos to buy cryptos. I'm not really so sure about that. I think Victor can help me clarify when he comes on board. But what I know for now is that you can have like multiple, like you can be subscribing to Ethereum,
to multiple cryptocurrencies,
and then Bitcoin and all that. But I also think that depending on the kind of crypto that you want to sort of subscribe to, you need to look at the different aspects in terms of strength. So I think those can guide you to determine which particular crypto you're going to invest in. So for instance, looking at Bitcoin. For it, really the biggest advantage with it is that it was the first crypto that came on board, so it has some sort of trust in the market as opposed to other cryptos. But that doesn't exactly mean that it's actually the most efficient, because actually studies have shown that Ethereum, for instance, has aspect valuable compared to Bitcoin. So I think on the point of investing in different cryptos at the same time, depending on what particular attribute you want to get from a particular crypto, you need to understand the different strengths of that crypto and then go ahead and invest in that accordingly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Joshua Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, we are still talking about cryptocurrency and what it's like trading with cryptocurrency. Of course, it has faced many criticisms around the globe and here in Uganda in particular. I've been talking to Joshua Kingdom. We're going into a short break, but when we return, I return with another gentleman now to talk about the legal aspects of the cryptocurrencies. What does the law have to say? And how is data protected with cryptocurrency? And the various other things concerning that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short breather.